You Ohio State fans in 1 week from now are in for a huge reality check when you play Indiana, because I've been hearing way too many of you Buckeyes fans underestimating and sleeping on this Indiana squad. Man, we ain't worried about Indiana, man. We've been beating these clowns for damn near a century. Newsflash, this is the best Indiana team that you have ever played. Curt Cignetti, in only 1 year being the head coach of this program, has led this team to more wins than they've ever had in the history of their football program. This is their first 10-win season ever. If you can turn around the team that's been a perennial bottom feeder in the Big Ten in only the span of 1 year, you're an elite head coach. This is an Indiana squad that they may not be as talented as what Ohio State is, but what gives them a good shot to take down Ohio State on the road is that they're a well-coached team that plays true to who they are, and they don't beat themselves. They don't have a lot of turnovers. They don't commit a lot of dumb penalties, and they don't rely strictly on talent to win. They win based off scheme and great coaching. Meanwhile, Ohio State, for everybody that likes to say, well, Indiana barely beat Michigan. You barely beat Nebraska, who started out, 5-1, 5-0, and has lost every game since? And you only beat them 21-17. Meanwhile, Indiana beat those boys so bad that the game was over by the end of the second quarter. Indiana deserves way more respect than what you Ohio State fans are giving them. And I can't wait for this game to kick off at noon on Fox next Saturday, man, because if Ryan Day is the fraud that a lot of people make him out to be, even though Ryan Day is a really good coach, Ohio State fans are going to be in shambles after this game takes place, man, because if you lose to Indiana, it's going to show that it's not about talent. It's about coaching. It's about culture. That's what Curt Cignetti has built. He doesn't need to spend $20 million on a team to go undefeated and turn around a program like Ohio State does. Ohio State needed $20 million to be able to win it all this year, supposedly. But yet, Indiana's 10-0, and yeah, their schedule's been relatively weak. They have the fourth best point differential in America. They're winning games by an average margin of victory of 25.2. That's impressive. And this is a football program that has only had 5 winning seasons in the last 29 years. I think it's incredibly ignorant to write off this Indiana squad and just make it seem like this is going to be another walk in the park for Ohio State. I watch Ohio State play Northwestern, right? I took these clowns minus 28.5 on my parlay, and they're the only team that didn't cover because these clowns on 4th and 2, instead of running the football with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, what was supposed to be one of the best, if not the best running back duo in all of college football, these fools don't have enough confidence to allow them to pick up 2 yards. So they want to start throwing fade routes on 4th and 2. What kind of play calling is that? You know, for as talented as what Ohio State is, this is a team that doesn't play up to the level of talent that they have on this roster. Indiana, on the other hand, they play their A-plus game every time they walk out on there on the field. Indiana is about to give Ohio State a rude reality check in a week from now, and I can't wait for it. And I believe that Indiana has a great chance to win this game. Curtis Wark, I know a lot of you Ohio State fans don't know about this dude, but he's played himself into the Heisman discussion with how efficient he's been. He's been better than that crazy lunatic you got, Will Howard, at quarterback. Will Howard, he's an okay quarterback, but he's not that big of an upgrade from Honda McCord. He doesn't really make guys better. He's an okay athlete, doesn't have a strong arm. I mean, Will Howard, every game you watch Ohio State play, he has 2-3 plays that make you go, bro, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you looking at out there? If you had Curtis Wark, your offense would be way more efficient than what it is with Will Howard. Will Howard isn't a bad quarterback, but he's not a good quarterback. Curtis Wark actually has been the best quarterback in the Big Ten this year if we're going off efficiency, statistics, and metrics. This is a better Indiana team than what a lot of you Ohio State fans are giving them credit for. This is not the same Indiana team that you've been beating up on for the last century. This is an Indiana team that actually has a good coach. They don't beat themselves, and they play a brand of football that wins, which is we're not going to rely on just trying to out-athlete you. We're going to out-scheme you, we're going to out-coach you, and we're going to play the best of our ability. Ohio State, on the other hand, you got to buy all these players in the portal, all these great coaches, all these great guys out of high school like Jeremiah Smith. Indiana doesn't have none of that, which makes it all more impressive. This game reminds me a lot of when Kalen DeBoer outcoached Dan Lanning twice last year when Washington played them. Both times before that game, Washington was a double-digit underdog, and they outclassed Oregon twice because Dan Lanning got outcoached by Kalen DeBoer, although Kalen DeBoer had a far more inferior roster compared to what Dan Lanning had at Oregon at the time. The reason for Washington being able to beat Oregon twice was because they were a well-coached team. With the transfer portal and NIL, the gap between the average teams and the best teams in every conference isn't that wide anymore. And a lot of you Ohio State fans are about to find out very soon that there's a difference between being the team that has to rely on talent and being the team that doesn't necessarily need to be super stacked at every position, because they can rely on coaching. They can rely on teaching their players the fundamentals, not committing stupid penalties, being able to perform in high pressure moments. That's what Indiana has done. Although they haven't played a difficult schedule, I expect them to give you a tough game, because you don't need to play a tough schedule to realize that you got a well-coached team like what Indiana has. They don't get penalized often. They got a really low turnover margin. This is going to be a great game. I'm not saying you're going to lose, but I'm not saying that Indiana is about to walk in Columbus and get spat on and chewed out. Indiana's going to give you a really good game. I promise you that. And I can't wait for the official odds to come out, because if Indiana is anything less than a touchdown dog, I'm taking it, because it's an easy lock. A lot of you Ohio State fans haven't been paying attention to how good Indiana's been and how true of a phenomenally Curt Cignetti is as a head coach. This brother has won everywhere he's been instantly. He won right out the gate his first year at James Madison University. Come on now, if you're winning at James Madison and you're doing this same crap at Indiana, you're an elite coach. Y'all need to put some more respect on Curt Cignetti, because he's been a better coach this year than Ryan Day. And I love Ryan Day, but if he was on that sidelines when you were going up against Oregon, I bet you wouldn't have had that late game blunder when Will Howard couldn't keep track of the clock. Indiana, they're about to give Ohio State fans a rude awakening in a couple of days, and I can't wait for it.